Personality disorders is the category that's probably one of the most fascinating to illustrate, but one of the most frustrating to work with. And that is because it involves enduring problems with who people are at their very core. Personality involves our behaviors, our thoughts, and our feelings. And so personality disorders are defined by behaviors that consistently get in the way of what we would expect socially, in terms of how we treat one another, what we do in social situations. They are very inflexible traits. So we all have aspects of our personality that we would maybe like to change, that we're not, maybe we're impatient, we'd like to be more patient. Maybe we're a little more anxious in social situations and we would like to be comfortable. But we can often make some changes behaviorally to those traits. People with personality disorders, these traits are enduring, they're inflexible, they are very resistant to change. They have been going on for a long time, and the evidence of these difficult, inflexible traits have been around since their adolescence or early adulthood. And it causes difficulties in their life. Either they are distressed or other people are distressed, and they do not manage life as well. They have difficulty holding jobs. There are interpersonal issues involved that make it hard for them to be successful in life. And the prognosis is not good. We do not have effective ways of treating personality disorders at this point. So there are three main categories of personality disorders that are clustered by some characteristic that is common in that group. So cluster A is our personality disorders in which are very unusual or eccentric qualities. So paranoia, extreme distrust in people, odd behaviors, schizoid and schizotypal, some very unusual thinking and behaviors are evident. Cluster B is, you can think of it as dramatic and very emotional and unpredictable. This is the category that's probably the most difficult in terms of how people relate to others, their interpersonal relationships. They can cause a lot of problems in other people's lives. And the final one, cluster C, is just a lot of, think of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt. But as I have finished now going through these three different groups, just know that there is actually, the research does not support these as somehow being related in this manner. So it's really more of a way that, the way that we have currently defined personality disorders, this is a way for us to keep it neat. But research doesn't seem to bear out that somehow these have something enduring in common. There are many challenges in studying personality disorder above and beyond what we face in studying other psychological difficulties. The first is poor inter-rater reliability, and that has to do with if we give different clinicians a scenario, a case study, like I do for you, are they going to diagnose this person with the same personality disorder? And we see very poor consistency across clinicians when it comes to diagnosing personality disorder. The criteria are very broad, which you will see as we go through this, and which is one of the reasons it's probably difficult to have strong inter-rater reliability. There is a lot of push for a new system And the book talks a bit about the interest in having a dimensional approach rather than just categorical, but the crafters of the DSM-5 chose not to go that route at this point. I imagine that the next revision will have some major changes to this category. But dimensional is indicating, more of how much of these characteristics are present instead of thinking of a presence-absence model. And finally, how do we understand how personality disorders develop, the etiology? Again, a real difficulty in doing this. There is a lot of comorbidity with other disorders as well. You can see there's sometimes mood really seems prevalent in these, and so do they also have depression? Do they also have an anxiety disorder? How do you pull out personality disorders and other psychological disorders? Additionally, all the studies are always looking back. They're prospective, so having a hind focus. And we do see that child temperament, which is what we call early childhood, kind of the equivalent of personality. We see some correlation there, negative emotionality, social inhibition, activity level seems to correlate, but again, it's not highly predictive. Secondly, then, parent-child relationships are often, again, a factor, but we're looking back, and so how much of it is also about perhaps if the disorder is there, that has been part of the problem, but we do tend to see some attachment problems between parents and child, poor parenting, and presence of abuse. So let's look at cluster A, and I am going to be moving very quickly, not talking about all of the symptoms, and you can go back through. I encourage you to do that, open your book and look at this as well. So in one of the cluster A personality disorders is paranoid personality disorder. And think of this as someone who is very, very distrusting, very suspicious. They have a bias that what seems to would be neutral in actions and words, were you and me interacting with other people, they see things as threatening. And they hold on to grudges, so they're very resentful. They do not, as you can imagine, make very good friends or very good romantic partners because they are very distrusting of other people. Schizoid personality disorder is characterized by a real disinterest in close relationships. So it's not because they don't think that they're capable. They really, it's like it's not important to them. They want to do things on their own. They do not have a lot of interest in general. Pleasure doesn't seem to be something they can even really talk about. And again, it's not because of, it's not lack of pleasure in the sense of depression would be, but just that they don't seem to have an interest in pleasurable activities. And that includes sexual activities as well. And they don't seem to be impacted by feedback from other people, be it praise or criticism. And just kind of this emotional deadening that is present there. Schizotypal personality disorder is what you would think of as kind of a low-level schizophrenia almost. A lot of very ideas of reference. That has to do with belief about cause. Oh, something happened because that tree, the spirit in that tree over there made it happen. Or God made this happen. Or some dead person come back to life is putting ideas into my head. That's what it's talking about. Very unusual beliefs and perception. Just their speech often has some odd aspects to it, and their their emotions are either very limited or inappropriate, laughing at funerals, or being rather upset about a funny incident. And again, similar to schizoid, they do not have a lot of close friends, and they don't seem to be eased in social situations, even if they're around people who are familiar.